I knew the time was close when Charlie stopped meeting me at the door. For almost 13 years, every day without fail, I'd come home to his familiar bark, that rhythmic tail thump against the wall, and those wide, shining eyes that looked at me like I was his whole world. But in the last few weeks, he stayed on his bed when I walked in, his head lifting slightly, tail giving a lazy wag, eyes still full of love but clouded with fatigue. Charlie was my dog, my best friend, the constant through seasons of change. I got him when I was 25, freshly moved into my first real house. The floors were bare, the walls empty, and the silence rang loud. I adopted him on a whim, a golden retriever with lopsided ears and fur like burnt toast, sitting quietly at the shelter while all the other dogs barked and danced for attention. He didn't try to win me over. He just looked up and blinked, calm and steady, like he was already home. Over the years, we made a life together. When I lost my job, he stayed curled up beside me on the couch every night, never asking for anything but a walk and a little affection. When I met Anna and fell in love, he was skeptical at first, jealous even, but he came around after she started sneaking him bites of her scrambled eggs. He was the ring bearer at our wedding, wearing a bow tie and looking completely unimpressed by the whole ordeal. When we split 2 years later, he sat by the door for weeks after she moved out, ears perking at every sound, and I swear I caught him sighing at night. We were both broken in our own way, but we had each other. Now, 13 years later, he was tired. The vet had called it hemangiosarcoma, an aggressive cancer that had silently wrapped itself around his organs. "He's in the final stage," she said gently, like she knew it would feel like someone had pulled the air out of the room. "He doesn't have much time." I remember nodding and staring at the floor. I didn't cry there. I waited until I got home. I sat down next to him, buried my fingers in the thinning fur at the back of his neck, and just sobbed. He nudged his head into my ribs and looked up at me, confused. That hurt more than anything. He didn't know what was happening. He only knew I was hurting. So I made a decision. I took the rest of the week off work. I told myself we were going to have one last good day, maybe two, if we were lucky. No hospitals, no pokes or prods. Just peace, just time, just love. We started with breakfast. Real bacon, not the low-fat dog treats he'd suffered through for years. I fried up a whole pack, let the grease soak into the bread, and watched as he licked the plate clean. He hadn't eaten much in days, but somehow bacon still had its magic. He even tried to jump onto the couch afterward, almost made it too. I helped him up and we sat there, me with my coffee, him with his head on my leg, watching the birds outside the window like we had 1,000 mornings before. Around noon, we drove to the lake. He used to love that lake. We'd gone there every summer, and he'd always leap from the rocks without hesitation, paddling in circles, with a stick clutched in his teeth. Now, he just watched it quietly, ears twitching in the breeze, eyes reflecting the sky. I carried him from the car down to the shore, laid a blanket out on the grass, and sat beside him. He leaned into me like he used to when he was a puppy. Full weight, no hesitation. I scratched behind his ears and he let out a sound somewhere between a sigh and a hum. A family was nearby, kids throwing pebbles into the water. One of them ran over and asked if he could pet Charlie. I hesitated, but Charlie lifted his head, so I nodded. The boy knelt down, gentle hands stroking his back. "He looks like a wise dog," the boy said. I smiled. "He is." We stayed there until the sun began to lower. On the drive back, Charlie sat in the front seat with his head out the window, fur blowing in the wind. He wasn't strong enough to stand, so I propped him up with a pillow. His nose twitched at every passing scent, his eyes half closed with contentment. It hit me then, harder than before. This would be the last time I'd see him like this, breathing in life, savoring it. That night, we curled up in bed together. I hadn't let him sleep on the bed in years. Something about shedding and back pain. But rules didn't matter now. I lifted him up and tucked the blanket around us. I held him just like I used to, and I told him stories. I told him about the first time he got loose and chased a squirrel 3 blocks before diving into someone's kiddie pool. I told him about the road trip we took to Colorado when he stuck his head out the window so far I thought he'd fly. I told him about all the nights he sat quietly next to me when the world felt like it was caving in, and all the mornings he greeted me like each one was a gift. I thanked him for being mine, for choosing me, for staying by my side longer than I deserved. I kissed the top of his head, just between the ears where the fur was softest, and whispered, "You can let go, buddy. It's okay." He didn't go that night. He held on. The next morning, the light was dim. A gentle rain fell against the windows. He didn't get up, not even to eat. He looked at me, eyes steady, and I knew. I called the vet and scheduled the appointment for the afternoon. But until then, we had more time. I sat on the floor next to him, played music, talked to him about nothing, held his paw. I gave him one more piece of bacon. He couldn't chew it, so I broke it into bits and fed it to him slowly, piece by piece. He took each one like a gift. Around 2, I carried him to the car. I wrapped him in that old plaid blanket from our camping days, the one with the small burn hole from when he knocked over the firewood. I held him the whole drive. The clinic had a quiet room in the back, with dim lights and soft couches. They gave me all the time I needed. I sat with him, stroked his head, and whispered all the things I couldn't say out loud yesterday. When the vet came in, she knelt beside us and placed her hand gently on mine. "Whenever you're ready," she said. I nodded. "Thank you," I whispered. He didn't struggle. He didn't flinch. He just looked up at me, and I looked at him, and that's how it ended. Me telling him, one more time, that he was a good boy, the best boy. I sat there long after. I don't remember how long. Grief comes in strange waves, sharp at first, then distant, like thunder rolling away. It catches you in the throat, in the hands, in the silence. I buried him in the backyard, beneath the maple tree that turns gold in the fall. It was his favorite spot in the yard, where the sun would land perfectly in the afternoon and he'd nap for hours. I placed a small stone there, nothing fancy, just his name and the years he lived, and the words "good boy" carved carefully into the center. It's been months now. Some days I still wake up and reach for his leash. Some evenings, I swear I hear the thump of his tail hitting the wall when I get home. I leave the window cracked at night. The breeze comes in, just the way it used to ruffle his ears. I haven't adopted another dog yet. I'm not sure I ever will. Maybe one day. Maybe not. It's not that I don't want to love again. It's just, some companions aren't replaceable. They aren't meant to be. I still visit the tree. I sit under it and talk like I used to, about my day, about the stupid thing I did at work, about the sunrise I saw that morning that I wish he could have chased. And I swear, sometimes in the stillness, I feel him there. Not in the way people say to make themselves feel better, but in the real way. In the way memories don't just live in your head, but in your skin, in your chest, in the quiet parts of your soul. He's gone, but he's not. Because love like that doesn't disappear. It just changes shape. It becomes the rhythm of your days, the echo of laughter, the warmth in your bones when you remember something silly, and your chest fills up with something that's not quite joy, but not quite sadness either. Charlie was my dog. He was my heart with 4 legs. And on his last good day, he gave me something I'll carry for the rest of my life. A reminder that love, real, unconditional love, isn't measured by time or distance. It's measured by presence, by quiet loyalty, by one more look, one more touch, one more moment of being together without needing to say a single word. I hope I gave him half as much as he gave me. And I hope, wherever he is now he's running,